So for today's video, I thought it would be fun to do something a little bit more relaxed and forward-thinking, and just talk about some of the games that I'm most anticipating for 2025 for the Switch 2. And obviously, as a speculative video, I haven't played any of these games yet, and there's no demos available for anything on this list or anything like that, but based on publisher track records or trailer footage that I've seen so far, these games are definitely resonating with me, and I'm excited to see whenever they finally do drop. And the first 5 entries on this list actually have solid release dates where we know they're supposed to come out, and there's a good chance that's not going to slip, whereas the last 5 are a little bit more nebulously defined as just coming out sometime in 2025, and it's always possible that some of these games get pushed, but we'll hope for the best. So let's go ahead and kick this off with a game that's coming out in just a few days, and I'm really hoping it doesn't get fully overshadowed by Donkey Kong Bonanza, which I'm also really highly anticipating, but that would be Shadow Labyrinth. And I've mentioned this at least once or twice on the channel before, but effectively Shadow Labyrinth is sort of a retelling or a reimagining of Pac-Man, where you're playing in an action-adventure Metroidvania-esque sort of game, where you play as a mysterious character known as the Swordsman, who's being guided by Puck through a strange, labyrinth. And I think the reason I'm so excited about this game is honestly just super refreshing to see an iconic character like Pac-Man, where the publisher's not afraid to just try something completely new that is way outside the realm of what you would normally expect for one of the most beloved characters in all of gaming history. Not to mention, it's not just Pac-Man that's getting remixed, but some of the enemies have already been shown to be enemies that you would have encountered in Dig Dug, so I would say it's extremely likely that we'll end up seeing a bunch of other Namco properties represented here as well, either as enemies or potentially helpful NPCs. I mean, really, the sky's the limit because this is just a bizarre twist on a classic character. Not to mention it is launching at a budget price of like $29.99. It does have a free upgrade to Switch 2, which I definitely appreciate, and I just have a sneaking suspicion that this is really just kind of a hidden gem in progress. I don't think it's going to do big sales out of the gate. I hope I'm wrong on that because I hope it's a great game and it's well received and a bunch of people go out and support it, but even if that's not the case, I am fairly certain this will end up being like a hidden gem of sorts that people will talk about years down the road. Next up is a game that isn't entirely new to me because I have played the demo for it, but I have not as of yet played through any of it on the original Switch, but the Switch 2 version is coming with the expansion Star-Crossed Road, and that would be Kirby and the Forgotten Land plus Star-Crossed Road. And again, I've only played a little bit of this from the demo, but I have a physical copy of it already, so I won't be actually buying like the full-blown Switch 2 physical version of this, and will probably just buy that $20 upgrade, which itself should improve performance and make Kirby just play a lot better by default. But the other thing is, I was a little bit unclear on whether Star-Crossed Road was kind of like a new area that you discover within the main campaign of Kirby and the Forgotten Land, or if it was its own thing. But since the last time I took a look at this, it looks like you'll be able to choose one or the other from the start screen, so you can either play the classic version of the original Kirby and the Forgotten Land the way it was intended, or this sort of remixed version that throws in Star-Crossed Road as well. Sorry, I meant Star-Crossed World. I keep saying Star-Crossed Road and I have no idea why, but yeah, basically you have the option of choosing either the original adventure or Star-Crossed World if you want to play it that way. Which does put me in kind of a weird position as somebody who's never played through the original just yet. Should I just go ahead and play the vanilla version, or should I just dive straight into what might be an improved version of it that's slightly remixed? Or would it make more sense to play the original version first, and then I would better appreciate what comes in Star-Crossed World? I'm not really sure, but yeah, I'm definitely excited for this one because I don't think I've played any Kirby game that I haven't thoroughly enjoyed, and after I start this will in fact be the first 3D Kirby game that I've ever played, so yeah, really looking forward to this one, and really glad that I didn't already play through it on the Switch, so it can be an entirely new experience with whatever route I choose to go. And next up is kind of a weird one in so much as I own the original predecessor for this game's release, but I only really dabble with it and sadly got relegated to the backlog, but it looks like the follow-up is going to improve on it in every way anyway, so it might not be a huge deal, and I think the devs have already said you do not have to have played the original Daemon X Machina to appreciate this, and that would be Daemon X Machina Titanic Scion, releasing on September 5th. In the brief amount of time I did spend with the original, I really enjoyed. Like, I love the idea of a hyper-saturated, just over-the-top stylistic mech battle game, but with so-so performance on the original Switch and a story that really wasn't resonating with me that much, it just wasn't something that I felt like spending any additional time with, even though I really liked the underlying premise and the presentation on offer. But I'm glad that I'll get another chance to mess around in that world, and again, the devs did already say that you don't have to have played the original to appreciate this one, so that's definitely appealing to me, and the visuals look way upgraded this time around. And in turn, it's definitely got me a little bit hyped to try my hand again at building out a mech that's going to be best suited to whatever situation I'm encountering. Honestly, just the idea that you can build out your mech to either be super fast and light and focus on kind of dancing around your opponent, or just building some hulking beast that fires off giant cannons or missiles from a distance, both sound pretty appealing, and I'm guessing this game's really going to take advantage of the Switch 2 hardware. plus the physical release of Daemon X Machina Titanic Scion will be entirely on cartridge and not just a game keycard. And I believe it was the president of Marvelous USA who was quoted as saying something like, it wasn't an easy decision for them to go that route necessarily, but that he always thought it was a good investment to, think about what players actually want and to put that first. So yeah, Ken Barry, if you're watching this video, good job, and I will definitely be there day one to check this out. And speaking of Switch 2 games that will be fully on cart and not game keycards, this next one is one that I played back in the day, but this is a remaster of that game that I would like to take another shot at because historically I've been spotty with this sort of offshoot of Final Fantasy, and that would be Final Fantasy Tactics: The Ivalice Chronicles, releasing on September 30th. And I've always been kind of hazy on the world of Ivalice. Originally I just thought that it was something that was bound to Final Fantasy Tactics, but apparently it's also the backdrop for Vagrant Story and also Final Fantasy XII, and I think Final Fantasy XII Revenant Wings, and a few other games I know I'm forgetting right now. And weirdly enough, when I was working on this video and looking through the games that are coming out, I actually do still have an original copy of the first Final Fantasy Tactics. I have a copy of Final Fantasy Tactics Advance. I do have Final Fantasy XII for the Switch, so I actually have a fair amount of entries from this series, but it's one of those things where I finally started playing the original Final Fantasy Tactics, and I think it was Final Fantasy Tactics Advance, or it might have been the one on PSP, I'm struggling to remember right now, but either way, when I tried to get into it, I felt like I was just missing huge chunks of what the world was all about, and even though I don't think every single one of the games that's in the Ivalice sort of chronology is necessarily directly connected, I do feel like I was missing some larger context, and I guess I just kind of felt overwhelmed by it, and that's why it was easy for me to sort of shift this to the backlog. But considering that Ivalice Chronicles represents a remaster of the original game that kind of started it all, that does feel like a really good jumping on point. So I feel like this huge sort of gap in my gaming history when it comes to RPGs could potentially be filled by me just finally buckling down and trying to beat the original title, and then figure out if I want to continue to just, charge through the rest of the games that sort of comprise the Ivalice Alliance. Not to mention I really like it when remasters or remakes of classic games allow you to switch between the original graphics or updated graphics on the fly, which Ivalice Chronicles does that, although for this game in particular I'll probably stick with the original graphics I would think. It's not that the remaster graphics look terrible necessarily, but they do look kind of weirdly smudgy to me, I guess, and I'm not sure if I would prefer them over the more crunchy pixelated look of the original. And next up, in more stark contrast to the very structured gameplay of something like Final Fantasy Tactics, we have the schlocky, over-the-top release for October I just learned about the other day, and that would be Full Metal Schoolgirl, coming out on October 23rd. Because after watching the mature-rated announcement trail, this game is just exactly the kind of ridiculous video gamey game I enjoy. You play as a mechanized schoolgirl that has to fight back against the Working Dead, which are really just mindless corporate drones protecting an evil CEO at the top of a 100-story skyscraper, and yeah, that sounds like a really good time. Throw in some bombastic, overly saturated visuals with a huge emphasis on ranged and melee combat that's definitely not taking itself too seriously, and yeah, somebody who's a fan of Lollipop Chainsaw, I imagine this game is going to be right up my alley. Plus, I'm just a huge sucker anyways for femme fatale games that feature like poppy, full lyric trailer songs. So yeah, no idea if Full Metal Schoolgirl is going to actually be that great of a game or not, but I'm at least intrigued and I love to see something just completely off-kilter manifesting for the Switch too. But now let's look at some of the games that are more nebulously defined as just being slated for a 2025 release, but we don't know exactly when they're going to come out, and the first one would be Kirby Air Riders. And I'm excited for this because, again, I don't think I've ever played a Kirby game that I didn't love, but also I'm just a big fan of arcade racers in general, and apparently the control scheme for this is very straightforward, where you really only need the analog stick and a single button to control it, or at least that's the way it was in the original game, which I have never actually played. So even though a lot of people who cult this as like a cult classic are really pumped for this game, I'm going into it effectively blind outside of knowing that A, it has Kirby, and B, there's racing. That's about all I know. But again, the idea of a simple, thrilling arcade racer is appealing to me enough on its face, and if you're going to throw in everybody's favorite pink floofball, probably not going to be a bad time. And next up isn't just one game, but rather a collection of games, but with a K since it is Mortal Kombat, and that would be the Mortal Kombat Legacy Collection coming sometime in 2025. And we don't even know which games are included with this, or at least not all of them. The only thing we really know for sure is that a ton of the old Mortal Kombat games are going to be included, and not just the original games, but also those incarnations of games across multiple platforms, including like the Game Boy Advance, the Super Nintendo, the Sega Genesis, Sega 32X, the arcade versions, and that's going to include titles from like Mortal Kombat 1, Mortal Kombat 2, Mortal Kombat 3, MK3 Ultimate, Mortal Kombat 4, I think Deadly Alliance as well, but suffice it to say, there have been a lot of Mortal Kombat games over the past 30 years or so, and it looks like they're finally going to bring a ton of these together into just one collection where you can really just dive in and have fun with it. And one feature that they're doing for this that I'm really pumped about is they are going to have like an instant unlock feature, so rather than having to go digging through every single secret that you used to have to find, you can just easily enable this from a menu option somewhere to get access to a bunch of hidden characters and things like that, which is just great. It's not that I don't appreciate the idea of looking for secrets in those old school games, it's just that I already did that a lot when I was a kid. And even though I appreciate all of the weird things that have happened in Mortal Kombat over the years, I really don't feel like going through a bunch of rigmarole just to get access to like characters that I wanted to check out again, or just to uncover secrets that before were just completely cryptic and weird in a pre-internet age to discover. Next up is a game that I've already beaten twice and bought at least 3 times between PC, PS5, and Xbox, and that would be Elden Ring Tarnished Edition, coming sometime later this year. And honestly, I'm not sure if I will buy this for a 4th time, but I do like the idea that it includes not only Elden Ring base, but also includes the Shadow of the Erdtree expansion. But I'm still excited about it because honestly I just want to see as many FromSoft games brought to the Switch 2 as possible. And like I already mentioned in that video a few weeks back, I would love to see them port Sekiro over to the Switch 2. Not sure if that's realistic, but hey, it's got to be more likely than us ever getting a Bloodborne port to the Switch 2 in all likelihood, and if that happened I would absolutely lose my mind, but yeah, I'm just a FromSoft fan in general, so definitely looking forward to its release. I'm curious to see if they'll actually put the full game on card or if it'll be a game key card. Hopefully they'll go for the former. As a collector, I would be more tempted to buy it if that were the case, but either way, I'm just excited to see that this game is coming out at all to the Switch 2, and very curious to see how it performs up against the Steam Deck. That alone might compel me to grab it, but yeah, we'll just have to see whenever it finally does come out, assuming it doesn't get pushed to like early 2026. I would have to assume that since developers have already said that it's pretty easy to develop for the Switch 2, that that's probably not going to happen, but you never know. And next up is a game that I think is most likely to be pushed to 2026, and that would be Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. And I'm not really sure what else I can say about it. Obviously, fans have been clamoring for this for years at this point, although I am very hopeful that they will shadow drop Metroid Prime 2 and 3 before they release 4. Maybe that's unrealistic, but hey, if it gets pushed to 2026, maybe Nintendo would throw us a bone and actually provide this as a 2-game collection or something, but yeah, either way, even as somebody who has not finished the original 3 and only dabbled in those games as well, I'm still real pumped to check out 4, even if I don't get to be fully familiar with its predecessors, only because I think on a technical level, this will probably be the most impressive first-party title that Nintendo has put out yet. And finally, this last game, which has no firm release date, but one I'm definitely anticipating wherever I end up buying it, because it will be on multiple platforms, but I would prefer it on the Switch 2, and that would be Marvel's Cosmic Invasion. And as a kid who grew up playing the X-Men arcade game at my local Pizza Hut, I was sold the second I saw this trailer. 15 different Marvel heroes are going to face off against the Annihilation Wave from New York City to the Negative Zone, and the roster of characters that they've already shown, they're looking pretty solid so far. You've got like Spider-Man, Wolverine, Captain America, I think She-Hulk, Rocket Raccoon, and I'm not sure how good the story will actually be in this. Like, Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 is a game that I enjoyed, although I felt like I was kind of just playing a remixed version of what we got from the MCU in Phase 3 and 4, but I'm still excited for this because historically speaking, I do love side-scrolling beat-em-ups in this vein, and for Marvel specifically, I love the Marvel Ultimate Alliance 1, 2, and 3, and the lesser known at this point X-Men Legends 1 and 2 back in the day. But yeah, as a retro beat-em-up fan in general and a Marvel fan at that, I was pretty much hyped for this game as soon as it was announced. But that's going to be it for this one, and again, I just want to do a fun kind of off-the-cuff video talking about some of the games that I'm most looking forward to for the Switch 2 that are coming out this year, or at least that we hope are coming out this year. But hey, what about you? Are there any games that are on your radar? If so, I would love to hear about it in the comments below. As for what's coming up on the channel, we'll be looking at some games with hopefully firm release dates as we check out the games coming down the pike for August next month. And I'm also still working for a video that showcases a range of third-party accessories for the Switch 2, so stay tuned for that. As always, thanks for taking the time out of your day to hang out here with me on the channel. It means a ton to me. Take care, and I will see you on the next one.